Variax. So we recently did, after reaching 4,000 members in the Variax Club, a little competition for an HX Stomp. Now, I didn't enter that because, being a moderator of the group, I didn't think it would be right that I would win. I've already got one anyway, so congratulations to all of the entrants. There was some fantastic stuff, so I figured I'd do one and go beyond a bit what I'm using the Variax with. And for me, this was my entry into the world of Line 6, and without this, I don't think I would ever have gotten a Helix or bothered with it. The main driver for me to get a Helix was that VDI cable, and the fact that this thing can make so many sounds. Because let's face it, I love guitars. For me, that's the main thing. There's some of them there, all collected up. But since getting a Variax, it's been my #1 player. In fact, I loved it so much I got two. This one and a 69, which I love. Can you kill this light a bit? Eesh. Better. So just changing a knob. So this got paired with a Helix LT because at the time that was about all I could afford, and it was a major jump for me getting an LT. It was my first serious investment in pedals, and from there things have progressed. But what I really love about the combination of this and the floor is you have all of these sounds at your feet, and that's something you really get attached to. And all of the stuff that I've added since, all that nonsense right there, has pretty well much all been a quest of mine to bring the Variax tech to other guitars, because once you're used to having 60 models on board and not having to necessarily manually flick through all this stuff, you really want it. So the first thing I got was that SIM1, which MIDI controls and is a profiler, so kind of like the new Quad Cortex or the Kemper, profiles guitars, any guitar. So with that, I can go over there and get my Gretsch and play that, and it can become any other guitar. Soon after that came out the HX Stomp, and I thought, fabulous, the old HX Stomp. I had to wait a good month for that to arrive back in the day. And the idea for me was that the floor itself was just way too big, but I didn't want to lose all the work that I was doing that. I didn't want to go and jump into another kind of pedal system where you couldn't share presets across from one to the other. So for me, that was a 1-2 hit, and that was the next one I got. And believe it or not, I was so taken with the damn thing, I kind of left the LT alone for almost a year and a half and just used that and the SIM1 and the Variax together, and had all the tones in the world, and I was really happy with that. Battery powered the whole thing, so zero noise, and the whole thing could fit in my guitar case, so travel was easy, everything was great. Beyond that, and this is the thing I love about these, This will all tie into another video because I'm still looking for other stuff and I was really trying to think. Are you ever going to be satisfied with this stuff? And the answer is probably no. It's a lot of fun. Next came Iridium, which gave me 3 amps and 9 cabs, so 3x9, 27 different possibilities of sound that you could tweak on the go. You know, jump to a JTM with a click of a button. And that for me really led to the realization that having a physical pedal with physical tweaky knobs, you know, there is sort of a difference between tweaking on here and tweaking on there, and that this is a pit of unknown amps, effects, and all that sort of stuff. So I would always take this with me. It does so much stuff. But my concern of late has been, what happens if that goes bad whilst I'm out traveling? Because that was the main mission of the stomp in the first place, is to have something that could go, you know, be my entire pedal board. That with MIDI, you can control that from anywhere. That could sit on a bench anywhere, and life was all well and happy. That's still a big concern for me. If you have ideas like that, put something in the comments. It's amazing the amount of stuff that can do. So in no way am I unsatisfied with what I'm getting out of the Line 6 stuff. But the reason for adding all this is because, well, that's the Line 6 way. This thing is sort of like the central hub of the board, and it handles all the routing, and it handles all of the MIDI switching, and it handles loops, it handles recording, it handles everything, all in sundry. So that's kind of where I'm going with the final pedals and this whole upfront board thing. When I cannot play through speakers, I use these wirelessly. Total freedom. It's excellent. Maybe I'll be yelling more like this. Waza Airs, would highly recommend them. Super cool. Up to 6 presets on board, or as many as you want using an app. But this is missing one huge thing, and that is the whole touchability thing. Diving through apps is not the same as you finding your tone. Which brings us to the expansion into non-MIDI pedals, which is kind of incredible for me. But this being my first non-MIDI pedal, this I would highly recommend for anyone with Waza Airs. Not only does it give you, you know, feedback creation, but it goes fairly well into monophonic drops and adds. That's all it is. Beautiful little toy, eh? And this thing is absolutely fabulous. The Helix can do that, but it's going to take you 5 or 6 blocks. So all this is about freeing up the Helix so that it can do really cool stuff. Let's come back full circle. What would you do with a Variax and a stomp? Because now with version 3, you've got all the polyphonic stuff which chews up a boatload of bandwidth. And to me, this is really where you go. Offload the effects like your compressors, delays, reverbs, 7, 8, 9 pedals all in one. They can be switched around. Offload your amps to a trusty drive like this. Offload super funk effects so that you can play through earphones and still get feedback. offload EQ to this, which does wah, which does tuning, which does all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the day, hopefully, if the brains of your unit, if the old glorious HX Stomp were to die, you could still do stuff. One thing you couldn't do is record or have an audio interface or playback and all that. So that's kind of my voyage with Line 6 so far. It's impossible to not use that just for the sheer amount of stuff you can do. And I'll close with this. If you're looking at stuff like the Neural Quad Cortex, for me, I love all the gear there is, but as fabulous as that thing is that it, squeezes everything down into one tiny little pedal that does everything, and that's great. I would love one for that. What you are doing is putting all your eggs in one basket, and I think that's where, personally for me, if you were to, like, I don't know, time travel 5 years from now, my Helix floor, I would still be using it, or the Stomp, I would still be using it, because it doesn't really matter what's happening out in the pedal world with the gear. These things are mixers, splitters, loopers, MIDI controllers, all that, recording interfaces, all of that, without even thinking about what they can do sonically. So as you go ahead, as the sounds, as the MIDI, as all the other stuff to do with guitar improves, for me, HX Stomp or the floor or any of the other Helixy things, why on earth would you get rid of it? In 20 years time, you could still be using these, and they're switching all your gear. They are the glue that holds everything together. So that is my little Line 6 story so far. If you've been following, I'm also looking at overdrives and stuff like that. What an amazing subject. And fuzz. And other pedals. So, stay tuned to the channel. You'll probably start seeing the D&M drive and the Kili dark side device. Fuzz on one side and more delays and reverbs on the other. And why? Because like this, which can do everything, those are little pedals that can do fractions of the stuff that this can do, but part of it's analog, which I really want to learn and try out. And much like this, 5-6 pedals in one. So, not the joy of guitaring is getting new pedals, adding them, and if they're all schizophrenic like this thing and with multiple personalities, all the better. Stereo folks, hope you enjoyed that, and for Andrew Bonica, Rev Variax forever, man. Or get yourself a Variax. These things are beyond awesome.